Hello players, welcome to this unboxing of the Steam controller and the Steam Link. I'm your host, the internet's bowstringer, so let's get these open. We'll start with the Steam controller here. I managed to get both of these, Steam controller and Steam Link, in one of the Steam sales. I think I got around 60% off, which was one of the purchasing decisions that led me to buy both of them. I actually don't have that much use of a Steam Link, but we will have a review video coming up in the second half of this video, so stay around for that. So let's get this open. Well, let's have a look at the outside first. It says Steam controller on the front. They're Steam Machine compatible because they made some of those, evidently. Address, information, requires computer of minimum Windows 7 and Steam, of course. Although it does work outside Steam, because I do have another one that I've been using, blah, blah, blah. Some other languages, right, so we'll get the sleeve off. There is a tape tab there, so we'll do it backwards. And there's one sleeve. This is actually quite a nice box. And there's a little icon right there for this Steam controller. Yeah, so this is quite a nice box. This is nice colour, navy blue, Steam colours, etc. Don't have my knife, so I'm having to use scissors, but there we go. So let's get this open. And inside, nice rigid cardboard packaging. One Steam controller. Some AA batteries there. It's nice that they're included. Teeny tiny dongle. I think you need one dongle per Steam controller. I'm not entirely sure. Doesn't say on there. I'll have to check. Printed materials, I'm guessing. So there we have that, and battery installation, sender installation, and press the Steam button. Very good. Product guide. Look through that. This guide contains important health and safety information in all the available languages. And here is the extension, USB 2.0 extension. Now, I don't know how to expect you to get that out without destroying the box, but we'll try. Oh, that's separate, that's how. So there's that. I suppose you could use that for any dongle. It doesn't have to be with the Steam Link controller. There's nothing proprietary going on there. It's all USB 2.0 stuff and a micro USB cable from that box there. So that's pretty standard stuff. We'll get this apart. So this bottom clip clips open like that, and the two AA batteries get inserted there. And when they're inserted, you have release tabs on the side there to release the batteries. Now, if you're using rechargeable batteries, they are a fraction, maybe a millimeter or two bigger than the standard size batteries, which means that they are a pain in the ass to get out. So there's that. But I use rechargeables because save the planet and all that. There we have it. There's a Steam controller right there. So nice, big, hefty shoulder buttons. I think I've gone through the Steam controller before on my what controller is best for PC video. But there's, so if you want to check out the Steam controller more in depth, check it out on that video, which will be linked at the end of this video. But now we'll get to the exciting stuff, because I've never had a Steam Link before, so we'll check out and see what's in this box. Almost identical packaging there, slightly larger than the Steam controller box. So I'll pop that over there. On the back, tells you various connection options. So we've got PC to, well, that looks like a switch or router. and then hardwired to the Steam Link, but there's also wireless icons there, although I haven't heard very good things about the wireless, but we'll be testing that out later on. Play all your Steam games on your TV. We'll see how that works out. Yeah, that works better. Okay. Ugh. God, it's tight. Okay, that is off. Okay, I don't even notice this in both of these sleeves on the inside without destroying it. I'm going to try not to destroy it and show you as best I can. They actually have the drawings of all the parts and makeup for both the Steam Link and the Steam controller. Didn't get that. Okay, so let's get this box open. Again, almost identical to Steam controller. I'm quite excited about testing this thing because it does open a few possibilities, not just around the house and things like that. So that looks very nice. That's very Apple-esque, I'd say, the way of presenting the product there. I mean, this actually came in about £15, which is incredible. That's got quite hefty weight to it there. Protective film around the edges. And there's that. Okay, so on the bottom, we'll get to the rest of the stuff in the box in a minute, but this whole pad right here is rubberized, so that, when that's down, that isn't going very far. Okay, so on the front, there's no I/O on the front or on the right-hand side, my right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, we have a single USB port right there. And on the back, we have got HDMI, LAN, and 2 more USB ports, and of course, power right there. So it looks quite nice. So we'll get the rest of it unboxed. We'll come back to that in a minute. So we have a quick start guide and probably product guide. Contains important health and safety information. Okay, so what this is telling you is, I can't read it backwards, so you have to read it this way. So we got connect your PC to your router or switch. That looks more like a switch than a router, but if people don't know what a switch is, then it's a router. And then hardwire it to the Steam Link and connect Steam Link to power and your peripherals directly to the Steam Link. Now the peripherals are something I'm quite interested about. I'm quite interested to see how it handles the DualShock 4 keyboard and mouse and other third-party controllers and that kind of thing. So we'll get into that later. And of course HDMI to the TV. I don't think there's any specification on the box or in here that tell you which HDMI output it is. So let's have a look here. No, there's no information on the product that tells you whether that's HDMI 2.0 or not, but I'm sure we can find that out. And of course the other option here, as that's for wired, is to have it wireless, and we'll be testing that out later as well. So let's get into more what's inside the box. Okay, that comes out. Put that there. Okay. So inside this box, we've got travel adapters for the EU, America. Oh, is that the EU? That's the American. I have no idea. One of these is for the EU, and one of them is for the United States. And of course, this one is the British one, which is the biggest one. and the most safe as well. But that's a video for another time. In here, we've got a selection of cables. So that's quite nicely laid out there. We have got a Ethernet cable, so that looks like a Cat 5 Ethernet cable, judging from the thinness of the wire. I could be mistaken, but that definitely looks like Cat 5 thickness. Cat 6 is a little bit thicker. Stuck down there. This, we've got HDMI and an HDMI cable there. No specification as to which type it is. I can't tell just by looking, but there we go. I'm sure you've seen an HDMI cable before. And then this, that's it for that box. And then we have here the power supply. Okay, no, that's American. So the default is American. That's the European one. We have the British one. And I have no idea, probably Australia. Okay, so there, this is the power supply unit. Pop that one on there because, well, obvious reasons. And that's quite long. It's not a bad length cable there. So it's probably, what, 2 meter cable, 2.5 meter cable, something like that. So that's pretty cool. Now just looking at this, blah, blah, blah. Output 5.1 volts, 2.5 amps. That's a bit disappointing that they used a proprietary connection. A bit disappointed with that because you could, in theory, under 2.5 amps and 5.1 volts, run it on a micro USB cable or even a Type C connector. So that instead of proprietary, that's the way I think they should have gone. Well, not really proprietary, but not incredibly generic there. So that's a shame. But the rest of it seems to be looking pretty good. So get those out of the way in case I ever go traveling around the world with my Steam Link and PC for whatever reason. Okay, so that is the unboxing. Stay around for the second half of the video where I will be reviewing the Steam Link and how well it performs on both wired, wireless conditions and with a bunch of peripherals. So we'll see how that goes. So this is the review section of the Steam Link, and I'm going to be going through the setup and playing through the very first time so you can see my first reactions and experiences using the Steam Link. So to get started with, the I/O is pretty straightforward. It is HDMI, Ethernet and power, although later on I will be using wireless to see how that shapes up as well. There's 3 USB ports, so plenty of room for peripherals and accessories there. The first way I'm going to use it is with the optimum setup. So the gaming PC is connected to a switch which is actually right next to the Steam Link. That should give it the best, well, the lowest latency times and the best possible chances for giving us a decent result. After that, I'll see how it shapes up with jumping between 2 switches and a router, and of course on 5 GHz wireless, and just for fun, probably a 2.4 GHz wireless connection as well, and we'll see how that goes. I'm also going to be testing a bunch of peripherals, so we're going to be testing the Xbox One controller, the PlayStation 4 DualShock, Steam controller, and good old keyboard and mouse to see how they shape up, especially with latency and things like that. One thing to point out is that Steam must be running on the host PC in order for this to work. So you must have a PC that's running either 24/7 or that you're able to wake up remotely and launch Steam. I'm also going to be testing this later on my server, which is on 24/7, so we'll see how that goes as well. So we'll get Steam fired up on the host PC, and then we will turn on the Steam Link for the very first time with the Steam controller connected, because I'm pretty much sure that's what they intended. Okay, so the first startup took a few minutes. It had to do some kind of update, so that's all done. It's asking me to connect a controller or keyboard and mouse or third-party controller. I don't have any screen capture software at the moment, so you're going to have to rely on this camera here to capture the Steam Link. So let's go. That's that done. We'll set up English. Set up the overscan. Searching for computers running Steam. Hopefully this is where I'll find the host computer. There we go, media. To complete the first time connection, please enter this pin. Oh, media is a bit of a pain in the ass, but here we go. Okay, network test complete. Frame loss 0%, network time 3.6 milliseconds, variance 1.41 milliseconds. Okay. So this looks like just a straight screen share of what's going on my Steam. Okay, so let's try something. What have we got installed? Now, I know how good I am at Mortal Kombat, so I'll know if there's any latency or any issues, especially using the Steam controller, etc., things like that. I'm not the best at Mortal Kombat. Okay, look, there's things up there. So we're running at 60 FPS. Don't think it's given me the resolution yet. Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. So we'll just do a quick... It seems very responsive so far. Just to make sure that the latency isn't a problem. So I'm not having any problems. So it's still running solid 60 FPS. I think it's at 1080p, but I'm going to have to double check the resolution. So I can't notice any latency. This is overwired. This is going through the same switch as the host PC is connected to. So that is probably not even touching the router. So like I said, ideal conditions over Cat6 cables. So 10 gigabit maximum throughput. Even though this shouldn't even be touching gigabit. Okay, I think we've had enough of that. So we're testing out the game now. This time we're going to be using the DualShock 4 with the official PlayStation 4 dongle. Requires Uplay to run, so we'll see how that works. First time controller setup. Just gamepad. Okay, so this is Watch Dogs 2. This doesn't look as good as what it does when playing with a 1080 direct to the TV. Going across a Steam Link, there does appear to be a few more jaggies. Also a lot more motion blur than there is usually. So things just don't look as crisp. So the grass doesn't look as good. It's definite artifacting. They're just not as sharp as they was before. So we'll close Watch Dogs. We'll go into the settings and put everything up to beautiful. Display resolution 1080. Limit bandwidth to limited. Trying to get the best picture option that we possibly can and see how that affects the latency. One thing I will say is there doesn't appear to be any performance impact to the game. It merely just appears that visuals aren't as sharp. So this image quality definitely looks better. Noticing possibly a slight latency on the controls. They feel a bit more loose than they did before. So over streaming we're getting 60 FPS at 1080. Everything does look better, but the controls just feel a little bit slower than what they would normally. A game like Watch Dogs, it's not going to be too important.
Okay, so to get to the Steam settings, you just have to click the stop streaming button on Steam Big Picture, and that will take you to the Steam link, and then you can adjust the settings from there. So there's audio, allows you to adjust audio settings, Bluetooth settings. So it actually does have Bluetooth built in, which is quite nice. You can adjust various settings from there. You can put it to sleep after so many minutes of inactivity there. Okay, so I'm going to test a game that's not installed directly on Steam. It's just a .exe link added in, so it's a non-Steam game brought into the Steam library. We're going to test that with keyboard and mouse and see how that plays. I'm guessing, if it works, that this game should be pretty decent. Okay, so there's a slight problem with SimCity. It doesn't seem to be displaying correctly, and it doesn't seem to be displaying the mouse pointer, which kind of makes it essential to play. Yeah, there's no mouse pointer there, but if I go around the screen, I can highlight things and click on them. So that's quite disappointing. I don't think that's a Steam problem. I think that's an Origin problem. Okay, so in the end, I couldn't get wireless to work, but I did test it over my local network, and the conditions were pretty much the same over wired, and it was a pretty good result. So the conclusion is that all the peripherals work, and there is minimal latency, even with the settings turned up high. On the highest visual settings that I could have, that was on beautiful and 1080p and unlimited bandwidth in the bandwidth cap setting. The visuals looked absolutely beautiful, especially on Watch Dogs 2, and the controls felt just a little bit more sloshy than they would do if I was playing it directly to the host PC. So there is a small perceivable amount of latency depending on the video quality settings that you use, but having said that, it's a pretty good little unit. I mean, for the size that it takes up and for the what it can do is absolutely fantastic. All of the peripherals I use, keyboard and mouse, Steam controller, PlayStation, Xbox controller, they all worked plug and play absolutely fine with no issues there. I couldn't actually get the wireless connectivity to work. I did try and connect it to my 2.4 and 5 gigahertz network, but every time I launched the game, it just threw me back out into Steam Big Picture. So I don't know what's quite going on there. Maybe it's one of my router settings or something like that that I need to sort out. But I couldn't get that to work. But to be honest, I wouldn't really want to use a device like the Steam Link over a wireless network anyway. If you're playing a game, you want as least latency as possible. So that's going to be a wide connection. So for casual, slow games, the latency isn't really a problem. If that's your only option to play the game, then it's really not a bad option. But if you're going to do anything like CSGO and play online in competitive either fighting or shooting games, that really isn't going to work. The latency is going to be very noticeable in those types of situations, as probably expected. But I am actually very impressed with the Steam Link. I'm more impressed than I thought I would be. Considering its size and price, I managed to get 60% off this unit in the Steam sale. Now, the ideal solution would be to have a gaming rig or some kind of machine that is on 24/7 so that you wouldn't have to continuously turn on the machine. Although it does come with a nice Wake on LAN feature built into the Steam Link, which if configured correctly can wake up the host PC with a Wake on LAN signal. So if you have, what you would need to do is have Wake on LAN set up properly and have Steam auto start with Windows. I did have an issue when games weren't natively loaded in Steam. For example, SimCity just refused to load. Well, it did load, but with the caveat that I had no mouse pointer, which you can't play SimCity without a mouse pointer. So that was very disappointing that I wouldn't be able to play games like SimCity, a slow-paced game, in another room. But there's always City Skylines, I suppose. But that about sums it up. The Steam Link is pretty well worth the money if you can find one in a sale, and if you have a use for it, don't just buy one for the hell of it. But it is a great option for gaming in another room without having to build a second rig or drag it through the house into another room. Now, unlike most people, I have my gaming PC set up in a living room, so I would use this on a secondary screen somewhere else in the house. But for most people, their gaming PC isn't in the living room, it's somewhere else. So this would be a great option to have the gaming performance of your PC on your living room TV without having to move stuff about or take up a lot of space. I mean, this thing is absolutely tiny, even with all the dongles plugged in. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked this video, hit the like button, get subscribed for more videos like this one and some videos that are not like this one. And until next time, keep playing.